What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Overserved with your host, myself, Pooch, and my co-host, Rachel. And guys, the last week and a half, 2 weeks of tennis, it's been crazy. It's been upset central. It's reminded me of, March Madness, where you just don't know what to expect every other match. Huge upsets, huge matches, and huge wins for some guys. So it's been a crazy week of tennis.
That's a great comparison, but let's start with Jannik Sinner getting his first Masters 1000 win. He had two chances to win a Masters 1000 before and he couldn't do it, and he was able to do it this time. In my opinion, he's been a little bit overlooked with all this Alcaraz hype. Like I also said, last week how he's got one of the highest tennis IQs on tour. I'm really happy for him to get this win. I know it's going to be big for him moving forward. He can do it. He can win these big tournaments. He's right up there with those guys. So it's really good to see him get that win. He said that, him getting through the tough moments in matches and the tough moments in tournaments has been pivotal for him. He was able to really figure it out, put the pieces together, and win the tournament. So really, really good for your fellow Italian.
Absolutely. See, I think the only reason he finally pulled it off is because I've been talking about him so much. Now we need Berrettini to get it together. He had to face Sinner and ended up losing. Obviously, they couldn't both win. But obviously, Sinner had an awesome week. I think, like you said, it's kind of overdue, at least for him to get this big time win and finally just be knocked on the door of the top five. As we're getting to a point right now, Sinner moved from number 6 in the world all the way, number 8 in the world all the way to number 6. And also another younger player, kind of the new generation of the big three with Alcaraz, Sinner, and Rune. Rune obviously did not have a good week, but still ended up, just because of some other people lost. And some other big upsets, ended up getting into the top 5 kind of before Sinner, which was pretty surprising. And obviously we know the way it happened, and where Casper Ruud losing and some other guys shaken up in the draw, why Rune got there before Sinner. But I do think Sinner's right there too.
Yeah, no, totally. And you bring up Holger. I really, really like him. In fact, I tweeted about it last week about how he's just built different mentally. He said that I'd rather be number 6 in the world and win a Grand Slam rather than not win a Grand Slam and be number 1 in the world. And I love that mindset. He's more worried about winning tournaments. That's his priority, not what his ranking is. He's going after the big tournaments. I think it takes a lot to admit that. And he's so young. I think people sometimes take his confidence as cockiness. And, I don't think there's an issue. I think that he's just a confident player. I think he's mentally tough. Last year in Cincinnati, I took one of the transportation vehicles back to the hotel, and we actually ended up sharing a ride. So we had some good conversation, and he's actually just a normal guy. He's really nice, really down to earth, just a sweet kid. And so he's not an asshole. He's just very, very confident on court, and he's mentally very tough. And I think that mentality is going to keep him at the top of the game for a while. I mean, he's already in the top 5 and he's so young. So I think he's got a really, really bright career ahead of him.
Absolutely. And I think he gets a bad rap with the whole Wawrinka stuff, which happened last year. And it happened again, like the part 2 with Indian Wells. So I think that didn't help him, just because people love Stan so much and he's so well respected for good reason. So I think that kind of gave him a little bit of a bad image, bad look, that kind of going back and forth. But yeah, that whole family's built different. I mean, obviously with Rune and where he's at right now, the mom is just out of her mind, just kind of like, I think I saw something with when she smokes her cigarettes or went to go leave. He was playing a match a few weeks ago, and whenever the mom would get up and smoke a cigarette to go leave, he would do well. So his mom got up and left at one point, and people were like, "Oh my God, she must be mad. She didn't want to watch anymore." And she said later in an interview, she was like, "No, whenever I would get up to smoke a cigarette, she was like, he would do well, start winning." So that's why I was doing that. The whole mindset of that family really is just an intense and what you need to do to be a professional athlete. The sister too is a supermodel. So whatever they're doing, they're doing it right. So you can't blame them.
Yeah. And drama and superstitions, it's all a huge part of the game. So
yeah, he's not going to be the first athlete or the first athlete's family member to have a superstition that looks a little different. So you can't blame them. But obviously, once again, kind of rounding out, we talked about Sinner with the big win. We talked about Rune, and then Alcaraz, who did not look like Alcaraz, which is obviously it's so hard to say that because he is so young, and one bad tournament, people like start to rethink everything, and it's just he just didn't have it, and he still looked incredible, hit incredible shots, looked and played really well at some points. Obviously, he was down against Hurkacz, had a really big comeback, ended up winning that one. Then played Tommy Paul, did not have the same success, but I think definitely people are interested to see how he shows up in Cincinnati.
Well, look, people are not used to Alcaraz losing earlier in the tournament. They're used to him making it to those final rounds. So this was a bit shocking to some people. He did credit Tommy Paul in his post-match interview. He credited Paul. He said, he's got such a well-rounded game. He's versatile. I think that in tennis, there are some certain matchups, regardless if they're like top 5, if they're number 1 in the world, there are certain matchups in players' games that when they play each other, it's just harder for them. And I think that Tommy Paul, that is Alcaraz's like tough matchup. And, now he has a losing record to Tommy Paul. And I think it'll be interesting to see them kind of battle it out moving forward. Alcaraz also, it was interesting to see him. I wanted to see how he was when he lost earlier on in the tournament. And, he kept it brief. He had a short memory, which is what you have to have in tennis. He said, okay, this happened. Tommy Paul, great job. I'm focused on Cincy now. Like it was just very next tournament. And, that's what you got to do to be at the top. And I think it'll be really good to see how he does this tournament. I think he's fine. He's going to be fine.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, it's just one of those points. It's hard to say at such a high level like that. I think it was only his 4th or 5th loss of the year. And that's the one thing where Tommy looked incredible. He beat him there last year. He now has a winning record against Alcaraz. Only 1 or 2 other guys have been able to do that so far. It's incredible. It's just the one thing with Tommy that gets me. It's like Tommy, Fritz, some of the American guys where you see him play at such a high level, and they can compete with the best of the best. And then I think back of like, he a few weeks ago when he was at the Newport at the tournament in Newport, the Hall of Fame Classic, and was playing Isner and lost to Isner in 3 sets. I know it's on grass, different playing level, but it baffles my mind sometimes. But that's just tennis, different day. It's only you and the guy across from you, so literally any person can win on any given day. Yeah, it's unlikely sometimes, but you just have to have a good day, really good tournament, and it kind of just shows you can beat anybody on any given day.
So true. So true.
And then, so moving on, talking about the women, obviously we had Coco Gauff win in Atlanta. She won 500. Then this past week, we had Pegula win, have an awesome tournament. She played Coco, beat Coco. She played number 1 in the world, Iga, beat Iga, and then beat Samsonova in the championship. But Pegula looked really good, kind of back on form to what we are used to seeing her do.
She really good. And before we touch on her, I have to just address, so American tennis is just doing amazing right now. We really are. But they're also so hot. Did you see Vanity Fair's new spread on the American tennis?
On social media, I did.
Blown away. They look like supermodels, all of them. Shelton, Maxime Cressy, Michael Moe, we got Danielle Collins, Madison Keys. They all look like supermodels, and they are hot. Not only are they playing good, they look really good.
No, you brought that up. I saw it I think on social media today. I think Ben Shelton posted it on his Instagram, and I was just like, what is this? I was like, what are they? But no, they look really good. It looks awesome. And they were all doing it. It was everybody. So them, I know if you put me, with that hair, not that I have the hair anymore. If you put me in some of those outfits with some of those haircuts, hair designs, I would not be looking good. So shout out to them.
Yeah, they all looked really, really great. And I am so hyped to see them play in their home tournament here at the US Open. But no, talking about Pegula, really, really happy for her to get that 1,000 win. It was interesting. She posted on her Instagram. She said 2 weeks ago, I was sitting on my couch, really just being like, how am I even going to get through this swing? And, her hard work and dedication really paid off, and she got the win. One thing that's interesting, I know we talk about the big 3 with the guys, the potential new big 3, Sinner, Rune, and Alcaraz, but on the women's side, there's Rybakina, Sabalenka, and Swiatek. That's all the talk for the women big 3. And Pegula, in my opinion, she's up there with those 3 players. She's been ranked number 3, like almost entire year. So I think she earns to be like in that, like, I don't know if it's a big 3, big 4 situation, but she definitely proved herself with this tournament in Montreal.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, right now, the Americans are just playing at such a high level. Even some of the lower level guys, McKenzie, McDonald had a really big win. Marcos Garon had a really big win in Toronto too. So it's kind of some of these guys that catching fire at the right time. And there's also some other guys that probably expected to have a little bit more success at this time, at least over this U.S. Toronto swing, such as Tiafoe, Fritz a little bit, more. We know he won Atlanta, but I'm sure he'll want to go a little bit deeper in some of these past recent tournaments. But a lot of guys and the women looking really good. And as we get into Cincy, I'm sure they would. And if you look at the draw on both sides for the women and the men, it's Grand Slam level tennis.
Oh
It's
yeah.
the draw for some of these guys is just unreal. I mean, the best of the best. Like we said, Alcaraz, Novak. So besides one or two people that either going through injury or just had to step back right now, it's some high level tennis.
Yeah. Well, can we talk about the perfect top 20 attendance on the men's side for Cincy?
No,
Top 20 ranked players playing in this tournament. I think it's the first time in like 10 years that we've had the perfect top 20 attendance. So, it's crazy because I was thinking about it today. I'm like, okay, we're in the really heart of the tennis season. It's the end of the tennis season, just about. There's a lot of injuries usually. And right now, we're very lucky to have all these top 20 players playing. I don't know if it says something about them strategically structuring their schedule, their recovery methods, whatever it is, their trainers, whatever it is. Great job to all of them. It's really fun to have, this perfect top 20 attendance.
Yeah, and you would think it makes sense just kind of going from Atlanta, Toronto, since everything's close, so nobody's going all over for travel. And at the same time, they're probably not going to go back to their home country or go back where they train, at least for, a week, half a week, and then come back and start to get ready for the U.S. Open. So it makes sense. But at the same time, you'd have to think some of these guys want to be really careful going into the U.S. Open, just with the prize money, with how important the U.S. Open is for some of these people's career, some of the guys who are at that level, they're getting ready to break through, or some of these guys who were, had that breakthrough moment, but also right now looking to get that Grand Slam win or major Grand Slam run. But yeah, some great tennis going on in Cincy right now. It's the beginning of the week. But everybody getting ready to kind of kick and go into gear. I know Novak's playing tomorrow. I think Alcaraz is playing tomorrow. Novak was even playing in doubles too, which is showing he's ready. This is his first tournament since Wimbledon. And obviously we know he doesn't have to do it daily like some of these other guys to know for him to be in form and back at it. But I'm sure he wants to play a lot of tennis. We'll get some good, on-court practice time and on-court, high competitive matches going into the U.S. Open. So it makes sense why he's here, why he was playing doubles. They lost in doubles, but I'm sure he'll be making, hopefully a nice long run in singles. And then another thing, it's like how impressive or how possible do you think it is for Sinner to go and, go back to back from Toronto to Cincy and the confidence level that would get him going into the U.S. Open?
No, there's no question it would give him like such high confidence going into the final slam of the year. But I gotta say, I'm not trying to be negative. It's nothing against Sinner. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that this draw is so strong. I think with Alcaraz and Novak and all these top players, I think it's going to be a really, really tough time. And he played deep into that. He obviously, played to the last day and not a lot of recovery time before these two tournaments. What he does have going for him is how great he is on the hard court and in these kind of conditions. So who knows? I would not bet on it, but I definitely hope he makes it far in this tournament.
No, absolutely. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough, but I also think it would be a great showing, at least for him to go deep. I don't think there's going to be as many upsets as last week. It just at that point, I remember it was going day after day. The top seeds were dropping in Toronto. It's very highly unlikely that won't happen again. So he won't have as much luck because sometimes to go deep in the draw, you got to have some other guys. I think he played De Minaur in the championship, which De Minaur is a great opponent, had a great week out in Toronto. But at the same time, I'm sure if he's facing one of those guys over, the likes of Alcaraz, Novak, Rune, Rude, you're probably pretty happy seeing De Minaur instead of one of those guys, unfortunately. So it would be highly impressive. But like you said, it's been a really long kind of stretch at this point of tennis going through. But I think they're happy to be in the U.S. and we see these crazy, or not crazy, but very impressive U.S. events from Atlanta. I know Toronto's outside the U.S., obviously, but another really good event. And they come right back down to Cincy. My question to you is where is high level tennis being missed in the United States? Where could they put a 1,000 level tournament tomorrow where, it's going to be a great event and players would love to go?
Well, I have a few thoughts on this. And first of all, one of my lifelong career goals is to bring a professional tennis tournament to the city of St. Louis, my hometown. I'm going to make it happen someday. And I think it would be a huge success, huge sports city, lots of tennis history here. But other than that, a few cities come to mind. I think Vegas would be a great one. It is a tennis city, whether we think about it or not. Agassi's, set a foundation out there. And I think it would be a huge success and draw a large crowd. I think Phoenix is also a fun one. We've seen the success of the Challenger. So just, maybe bringing a bigger tournament there would also be great. And then also, let's think about a small town in the Midwest. Just get rowdy with some Nashville. I think that would be fun. Like maybe not a 1,000, but like a 250 or something. I feel like that would be a fun town to have a tournament.
So I think I asked Rachel where she would love to have a tennis tournament. I think she's just given me the city she would love to go hang out for a weekend.
That's true.
To go celebrate and go have a good time, but also watch some tennis. But those are all great answers. I totally agree. I mean, we have the major ones in New York. There's not actually, I know we have California, but I think you can't, a Los Angeles one, how could you not beat that? With the atmosphere, the weather, I think it would make sense for 1,000 level. But yeah, I think the US definitely puts on the show. I think the players like coming out and playing here at some of these major tournaments. And I think if you could add a few more throughout the season, whether that's taking some away or kind of just moving the schedule around, I think the United States knows how to do it. Just sports. Everything we do, I hate to say, is bigger and better, but a lot of the time that really is the case. So I think a few more tournaments, if they put them in Vegas or Nashville, I'll definitely be there.
Yeah. Well, we think about it, Cincinnati Open, it's been in the talks that it's going to, potentially maybe move to Charlotte. I don't know where that is. Charlotte's a great town. I think would be awesome to have a tournament in. And then, I think about, I might get in trouble for saying this, but I think about moving that tournament from Winston-Salem all the time. We got to get it somewhere, big and just somewhere that the players would love to play. But yeah, there's lots of potential in the US to have some pretty exciting tournaments.
Yeah, you just brought up a second ago, like Arizona and Phoenix. That tournament was unreal, at least. And that's not, if you grow the venue even bigger and players like coming there, because right after Indian Wells. So I think a lot of it, if it just fits in the schedule, if it's right before or after some of these other major events, players would love to go there.
Thinking about it though, with Phoenix, I feel like that one would have to be like part of the Miami Indian Wells. Like it would have to be in February. We couldn't have that right now. It's 120 degrees out there. So it would have to be one of those spring tournaments.
Absolutely. So you guys, not at least maybe not in the next couple months or years, but Rachel will be bringing one to St. Louis. I think if she gets a chance, though, they say, hey, St. Louis or Vegas, I still think she'd pick Vegas.
No.
St. Louis. So there'll be an ATP or, NWTA 1,000 level tournament in St. Louis coming soon.
Well, maybe not 1,000, but one of them I'm happy with. 250, 500. We're going to make it happen.
And then we'll just make sure the high level players end up coming too. So
exactly. It'll be great.
It will be great. And guys, that's this week's episode of Overserved. Getting ready, obviously, the U.S. Open's right around the corner. It's going to be a huge week of tennis going on in Cincy, so we'll see y'all next week.
Thanks for watching, you guys. See you soon.